Welcome to Sam's Business Growth Show. I'm Sam Dunning, a digital marketing, sales and business growth evangelist. Tune in and subscribe today as I'll be interviewing business leaders, experts and entrepreneurs from around the globe. You'll be learning their story, how digital marketing has helped them along the way, and exclusive tips and insights to help you skyrocket your own business. Welcome back to the show. I'm excited to be joined today by Alex Olley. Alex is one of the co-founders and head of revenue at Reachdesk, one of the fastest growing software as a service companies in Europe. Alex has spent the last 10 years working in tech and has helped companies scale from early stage startups to award-winning businesses. His passion is helping sales and marketing teams think differently about how to break through the noise and create relationships that drive revenue. Alex, welcome to the show, mate. How are you doing?
Hey, Sam. Yeah, I'm really well, thanks. Thanks for having me. It's a real joy to be on this. I've watched so many of them in the past, so it's great to be on.
Awesome, dude. So there's plenty we'd love to go through with your good self today. We want to learn your top business growth tips, some of the digital marketing strategies that have helped your business grow and that you recommend to everyone tuning in today. But first and foremost, it'd be great and interesting to learn your story. So ever since you left school, where you grew up, some of the key businesses you've been involved in, and some of the lessons that you learned up to founding Reachdesk. If you kind of guide us through your journey, the key events and what you've learned so far, my friend.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's start from the very beginning then. So I was actually born in Bristol, of all places. But my dad was in the army, right? So I've been shipped around the world. I've lived in Hong Kong, Cyprus, Germany, Brunei. Like I've kind of been dragged around the world a little bit. So I've seen that side of things. I kind of just went through school and then ended up at uni. And for some reason, I still don't know why, people thought it was a good idea to recommend that I go into law. So, so I studied law and French at uni at Newcastle. And I'd always felt quite passionately about being a lawyer. Again, I'm not really sure where it came from. I was quite argumentative, hate losing, quite a competitive guy.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, so I did that at uni, and my problem is that I try and push myself too much. So I did a law degree alongside a French degree, whilst being in like the rowing team, which is like 5 a.m. starts, evening sessions.
Oh wow!
So trained twice a day, every day, weekends too. So kind of never had a breather. So that was kind of uni really. And it was interesting when I was kind of in my final year at uni, I was trying to work out what I'm going to do next. I started interviewing at law firms and stuff, and just didn't sit right with me. I didn't like the vibe. It didn't attract me anymore. So I'd kind of gone through this whole process, and I basically fell into technology by accident.
I see. All right.
This is actually during like essentially the recession. This was 2009. It was really hard to get a job. And so I thought, like, let's just move to London, see what's going on. And by accident, I fell into a small tech startup. There were a couple of people. It was a business called Deezer, so a music streaming service.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, there were 4 of us in a room. There was a team in France as well. We were part of the launch team. There was kind of no agenda. I was just kind of getting involved in the business. And within a month, I was just hooked on it. It was the best decision, but almost best mistake I ever made by not going into law.
So what did they bring you in as, Alex? Was it a sales rep or?
No, I was there to do whatever.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, pure startup mode, right? There was an agenda, but it was like, we just need your help building something. This is the days when Spotify, Deezer, even like Napster were kind of really, really early stages.
And they're huge now, right, Deezer?
Yeah, well, I think about 2 years later, they would raise about 200 million. There were sort of hundreds and hundreds of us. Seeing the company go from like a tiny little team to like huge scale, global, millions and millions of subscribers. And I just saw like what it takes to actually grow a business from nothing to like a huge multinational business, but whilst maintaining its culture. And it was awesome.
That does sound awesome. So you were doing law in uni. Didn't actually realise you went to Bristol. That's only down the road from where we are in Yeovil. Bristol's a place I love. We tend to get our team go there quite a lot for meetings and nights out every now and then. It's got such a good buzz to it. Love the place. We've got a few friends that work there as well, web developers. So that's cool. So how come you decided to put a pause on law then? Did you just think it was not right for you and you wanted to try something different, or was it a short-term thing that you thought at the time?
It was very much a short-term thing at the time. And then when I was at Deezer and we kind of grew to that level, you know,
Yep.
the hard part with being part of like fast-growing startups is they often reach a point where, you know, the reasons why you joined change. So I kind of, you know, I rethought things a little bit, and actually I decided to kind of give law a shot, but like more like media entertainment, those sort of things. So I was working with a lot of startups, a lot of guys in the entertainment business. But again, I qualified as a lawyer and just missed the startup bug more than anything. It was less about sales initially. And I kind of accidentally fell into a sales role. You know, the role I'd done at Deezer was a bit different, but I fell into sales by accident and immediately just thought, I found what I want to focus my career on now. I want to like help elevate the sales profession, but I want to like really take it seriously as a full-time career. So yeah, I did that at a company called Yieldify, again, like early stage startup, one of the first employees, grew it to a really good rate, moved on to another business called Agilic. So gone.
Okay, just before we get to that, Alex, it'd be interesting to know, because you said Deezer built up quite a bit to a high level, and then the next company where you were more of a sales rep built up. So how were you able to build those companies up? Could you share a bit more into the steps that were taken and some of the strategies you guys used? Obviously, we've only got a bit of time.
Yeah, like
share what you can.
It's a good question, right? At the beginning of a startup, there's just so much hustle. There's very little. It's like organized chaos, right? So what I've learned, particularly this time around, is that you've got to set yourself like really clear goals. We didn't really have that first time around. It was very much like product led. Whereas if you want to build a really good business, you need to all sit and hold yourselves accountable. Like the founding members are really key, but your first employees are really key. You all need to know which lane you're swimming in. Right? You need to know what your roles are, but ultimately where you're getting to. When you go swimming, you're all going to the same end each time. So when you have those clear goals, you can really set things up so that you know where you're going and share that same vision with your founding members, you know, with the leadership team. So the first thing is like really set yourself goals, but don't set yourself up to fail. Equally, don't undersell yourself. You've got to always stretch and make sure that you're working towards something that is achievable, but you're not going to tick everything off.
Got it. Okay, so setting clear goals. Cool. All right, so you left Deezer, then you went back, finished the law side of things off, but then decided you wanted to get back into business and sales, and it wasn't for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was my problem is I don't like rules too much, like, and law is one big rule book. And I didn't like, firstly, sitting in my own office with like a secretary, you know, doing things for me. There were so many things I didn't like about it. I wanted to be back in the trenches. I wanted to be on the floor helping to create a business. Like that's what I love the most, is creating something which has a common goal with a lot of other people. In law, it's very much about you and what you have to do for your client, and that's about it. And I didn't really like that too much. So it was just so clear for me to kind of get back into tech. And for those people who have to rethink their careers, which a lot of us do, I basically just wrote down a list of all the things I wanted and then approached a load of businesses that met those criteria.
Okay, nice. All right, that makes sense. So then you went back into a company. Can you remind me of the name of the next co you went to, Alex? I forgot you said.
Yeah, so it was a business called Agilic, Danish tech company. So I launched the London office so they've done really well, market leader in the Nordics. And like brought it over from Denmark. And I learned a lot of things from that business, because you have to appreciate that when you're doing things on a global scale, cultures, even though we're only a couple of thousand miles apart, cultures differ so much, and you have to be able to adapt really quickly when you're taking one business from one country that's doing really well to another where you have a fresh start. My advice to everyone who's doing that is to make sure that the part of the team that has had the success in that home territory goes over there with you. There's no point in just trying to find a whole new team with really good, shiny, polished CVs and expect them to execute on it. They need to understand what's actually pushed the business forward in the first place, and to be able to communicate that back to head office, because it's not always the same.
Got it. Okay. So how long were you with that co, Alex?
That was about 2 years, and then
Got it.
that led me into where we're at Reachdesk.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, tell us a bit more about how Reachdesk came about. Because I appreciate you're the co-founder. And when was the moment that you decided you want to start something for yourself? And how did that come about?
Yeah, so I'd worked with a couple of guys at Yieldify, and they actually presented the initial idea. Said, look, we've got this idea for something. It's basically like it started as like a gifting platform, sort of e-gift cards, those sort of things. I'd been running a lot of like account-based marketing programs, led a team of SDRs who had to break through to net new prospects. One of the things that we found worked the best was actually sending physical mail,
Okay.
sending personalized gifts and contextually relevant ways that actually land on someone's desk. Elevated everything that we did. It elevated the digital channel engagement we were getting through our ad strategy and the emails that were being sent. It created a way more compelling call to action when you pick up the phone and you have a conversation with someone, because it removed those cold calls and turned them into warm calls, because there's something sitting in front of you that is contextually relevant. The problem we had was we couldn't do it at scale. We couldn't track any of it. We couldn't measure what was working. So we built Reachdesk because it was a problem that we faced. It was something that
Got
we
it.
were doing
Okay.
day in and day out, and we had to build a solution that actually worked for ourselves, and that's where it started.
Great story. Okay. So you're actually sending physical mail and gifts at the other software as a service companies you were at, and having this issue that you couldn't really measure it, didn't really know what the stats were or the data behind it. So you wanted to fix that and start something yourself. Cool. Okay. So Reachdesk has been going. Is it been going since 2017? Is that right, Alex?
So we
Or was it a bit
started in
before?
2018.
Okay. Cool. And so yeah, it's been going about 2 years now, which is great. And how was it to start with? Was it hard work in terms of bringing on staff, in terms of marketing, in terms of growing it to where it is now? Because I know you've got offices all over the world, right?
Yeah, the beginning of it is the most fun in some ways, right? Because you have nothing. You literally you barely have a product. I've always said, if you try and release a product into a market before it's ready, you've done it too late. So you've got to accept the first thing that your product isn't polished, but you still have to sell it. And that to me is like the biggest buzz ever, because if you can sell a product at an early stage and get people to pay for pay something for it, then the long-term vision, if you execute on it, is wholeheartedly valuable for your customer base. But yeah, it was really hard. You have to do all the things that you did in the early stages of your career, and start picking up the phone again. You have to walk the floor and go and start booking meetings yourself. You have to do the meetings. You have to do all the discovery and then the proposals and close. It's an end-to-end process whilst raising money, whilst interviewing people. So it's really tough, and it's 7 days a week, 16-hour days for 6 to 9 months. But it's like the most satisfying thing, because when you get those wins, it's all worth it.
Got it. And in terms of actually scaling the company up, how did you go about that, Alex? Because you mentioned investment. So did you get investment initially? And was it just yourself and the other co-founder, or did you bring on staff straight away, or did that come after some time once you kind of managed to get revenue in?
Yeah, so it was myself and the co-founders at the beginning, testing the market, making sure that we're asking the right questions first, and then we did sign a couple of customers before we hired our first employee. But no, we got hiring pretty fast. But we didn't take a lot of investment. We still haven't actually. We've kind of grown this organically in quite a bootstrap fashion, which means you've got to be conscious of your budgets and what you spend it on. But yeah, we've sort of we hit certain milestones in terms of revenue, and actually we're at that point now where we're kind of really kicking on and making sure that we can fill up the war chest a bit more so we can take it to the next level.
Awesome, man. So tell us a bit more about the marketing strategies that have been a success whilst you're at Reachdesk. So of course, I know you're going to mention physical mail, so it'd be useful actually, because we haven't really talked about account-based marketing much on the show. So if you could share a bit more light on it about exactly what that is and how that works for everyone tuning in that doesn't understand it. And also any other channels, be it outbound or inbound, that you've had success with, it would be great.
Yeah, so the beginning, pure outbound. Everything was outbound. Right? We barely even had a website. It was kind of just one page. Account-based marketing is really simple, right? The traditional way of generating demand from a marketing perspective has been like a funnel approach, where you fill as much at the top and it kind of filters down. You might have 1,000 leads that you need to put in the top to close one deal. So it's a very much like traditional funnel. where you kind of build awareness and you get people to raise their hand and then eventually you close a deal. Account-based marketing is where you flip that funnel. You have a really precise way of knowing who you're going after, who's your ideal customer profile, to like your total addressable market, narrowing that down and actually saying, well, what are the best fit customers for us? Like, who are the ones that we should be going after, so that you have a really precise approach. And it works really well for outbound when you don't have a huge marketing team, because you can create programs around the ideal customers for you and then focus everything on there, so that you start by identifying with them who they are. You then expand within that customer base. Who are the individuals and personas that you're actually going to go after? Then you engage with them across multiple channels. And then what you're ultimately aiming for is advocacy. That you're aiming for them to give them such a great experience that they sell for you. And that's kind of the 4 key steps of account-based marketing. I actually see it moving on from what I call ABM to ABX. So creating account-based experiences. How do you create an amazing experience around everything? So down to the copy that's on the landing page that you're driving them to. How can you make it so personalized for them that you create such an amazing experience that level of advocacy enhances? And that's what we're working towards at the moment.
Brilliant. Okay, so to begin, was it pretty much all outbound of using direct mail, direct unique gifts and offerings, and then connecting with this very pinpointed audience that you'd worked up and persona that you targeted, and then putting them through the funnel? Over time, did it change, Alex, to more digital? Was there any inbound kind of side of things that have worked for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So the inbound, first of all, came really interesting. I've never seen this before. We were using our own product to sell, right? We were sending people physical gifts saying, you know, would this be interesting for you? We don't say that it's so noisy out there digitally that you should be stopping doing what you're doing. We're saying this channel can help elevate what you're doing. But what we were doing is we were sending people gifts, right? We were making them really relevant, very personalized messaging. And what people started doing is posting it on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Everyone started posting it on LinkedIn. So we had this free marketing channel all of a sudden, right? Because our prospects were saying, this is such an amazing experience. I feel so great about receiving this. So we started getting inbound to our website from that perspective, because people were saying, I saw, well, one of my, someone in my network has received something from you guys, never even heard of this before. I'd like to see a demo. And then we started investing more in like social, in the digital side of things, driving more people to our website from that perspective, but doing it really intelligently as part of like a holistic approach. So not just that, just silo it and just put loads of cash into that. If someone receives this, how can we target them really intelligently? So all of our digital strategy has been in a very targeted, focused approach too.
Awesome. And that's almost the ideal inbound that you can get, because you're not really putting in a marketing budget. It's literally your prospects or your customers sharing the how you've delighted them with their network, in this case on LinkedIn, and then people seeing that and getting in touch direct. So that's awesome. And is that the main strategies that you've utilized, Alex? Is there anything else you want to share with us that might be worth listening, or those are the key ones?
Yeah, well, look, we are doing a lot more with SEO, with sort of PPC, those side of things as well. I've used strategies previously, and I'm starting to do them again now, where you use account-based advertising. So you actually reverse IP. That again, that targeted list. Everything we do is account-based, right? Pretty much everything that we do is account-based. So you can identify the list of customers that you want to go after. It might be 300 or 400, right? And then you can use certain tools to advertise specifically to those accounts, either on a one-to-one basis, like one to few, which might be 15 to 20, or like one to many, which might be the rest of the pool. It might be like 150. But you can have really relevant ads that actually target those accounts, so that when people start clicking on them and start being driven to your website, you can follow up off the back of that interaction with the same message so that you have that continued story. And again, everything is contextual, it's relevant based on the advertising strategy. So you can get your outbound reps to follow up off the back of it, and have a really consistent flow.
Great stuff. Sounds good. Okay, cool. So in terms of your business so far, Alex, appreciate you started up back in 2018. Are there any particular highs or lows that you could share with us? So perhaps we could start with any lows and how you worked back from them.
Yeah, at the beginning of a business, the product breaks, right? It's a SaaS company, so things will break. I used to work with a CTO who used to sit down with our customers, who would basically say that we want you to put something in a contract that will say this will never break, and he'd just look at them and say, it's technology is going to break, right? So
next joke.
but like it's as simple as that, right? So the lows are always like, yeah, it's frustrating. You know, we have a couple of competitors. When you lose a deal to a competitor because you didn't quite get your pitch right, you didn't ask the right questions, you're kind of fumbling in the dark a lot at the beginning. So we haven't had too many lows. Just the standard things that you'd expect. You know, you have to accept that you will lose some deals to your competition. But aside from things breaking every now and again, there haven't been like any particular problems we've faced so far.
Good news. And any highs that you can share with us and how you got to those?
Signing your first customer is always the best feeling, right? It's when you get that first signature on paper, you know you're off to the races. Then you get to 10,
Definitely.
and then you're like, wow. Then you get to 50. So you always set those milestones. The biggest highs for me are hiring people that start to excel really quickly, right? Our first employee, this guy called Ben, just he'd ever done a day in sales previously. He used to be a professional ice skater. We took a little bit of a risk with him. Next thing you know, he's probably one of the best BDRs I've ever worked with. So the highs for me are around building like rock star teams from nothing, and kind of almost going against the grain a little bit and taking risks with people. Like when you get people like that who just constantly kill it and excel without you having to do too much, those are the biggest highs for me.
It's interesting you should say that, Alex, because we've spoken to quite a few business owners on the show, and the feedback's not always, but been a lot of people have said the same, where they've brought in new sales guys that have not really got any experience, but they've turned out to be some of their best sales reps or sales professionals, purely because they've got the drive. Secondly, they don't think they know it all, so they ask the silly questions, which gets better answers from their prospects, and in return gets them more deals. And yeah, they're just hungry and they've got more energy and they're excited about what they're doing. So yeah, no, that's a great point. Okay, and just before we kind of wrap things up, I know you guys have got an office in New York. Is that right? We've got a team over there.
Yeah, so we've got a team over in New York. We decided quite early on that we needed to be over in the US quite quickly, and that's basically because of our customers. You know, we were signing. We sell to mainly SaaS companies, or particularly in the B2B space, and they were saying, "Oh, this is great. This is all well and good. You doing this for us in Europe, but we need you in the US. That's where we want to grow into." Now,
I see.
Very few businesses go to the US really fast. Like it's so risky. It's a big market. If you can crack the US, then they say that you're kind of set up for the future. So we decided to take a bit of a risk, and actually we appointed our CEO out there. So we all decided as the co-founders that it would be better to have someone who's had a few more years under their belt, and actually like hand the keys over to someone who can guide us too. And that's quite hard to do because, you know, a lot of people ask this about me. In fact, I almost get this every day. Like it feels like you're giving away your baby a little bit, but it's actually the opposite. Like that person can take way better care of your kid because they've done it a lot more. So yeah, we set up in the US. Nearly half of our customer base is US based now. It's working really well, and it seems to be a good risk that's paying off.
So was it a case of you had customers that literally, like you say, Alex, they're saying, look, we need a presence over in the US. So that's why that was the main driving force behind it, right?
At the beginning, yeah, it was our customers saying that we need you guys to have a service in the US because it's working so well in Europe. Like Cognism, you mentioned earlier, they're a customer of ours and they're growing into the US, and they were using us in Europe first. And they said, look, we need you guys to be operational over there. So we put all of our product team and our operations side of things into making sure that we had at least the equivalent of what we've got over here in Europe. And then the next territory we've recently moved into is APAC. So now we've got a global solution for businesses that want to execute on this globally.
Nice. Okay. So for anyone that's just started a business, Alex, or anyone that's thinking of starting up their own business, or any pieces of advice that you could share with them on to help them be successful?
Yeah, I think for me, to be successful, I think you've got to love what you do. Right? There's sort of this mentality that if you're successful, then you'll be happy. Actually, it's the other way around. If you're happy, you'll be successful. So if you're going to start a business, make sure it's something you're actually going to love. Like, make sure it's something that you truly believe in. Someone told me when I was starting Reachdesk, they said the difference between the founders who who make it are the ones that believe it till they become it, rather than the ones that fake it till they make it. If you fake it till you make it, then you'll probably make mistakes, and you probably won't push as hard as you possibly can when times get tough. But if you believe it and you keep chipping away at it, then I think that from a mindset perspective, that's often helped me, because when it has got hard, I kind of just remind myself of that and just make sure that my feet are on the ground and I believe what we're doing. Don't put your life on hold. I've got a 6-month-old kid, right? And I remember being worried about that, and just being like, how am I going to do this when there's a baby in the background? I think you've got a little one on the way.
Yeah, we do next month. Yeah.
Right. It's the best thing, right? And you just balance things, and you have to be honest with those around you that, yes, fine, things are going to change, but have the difficult conversations with your partner and whoever is in your life, because you still have a business to run, but you can't just leave your life behind, because that actually sucks the joy out of things. So a lot for me is around mindset. It's around making sure that you still have your life and life goes on. Those are the two things that will get you through the tough times. The biggest thing for when you get past that really early stage and then you start hiring people is that you have to really lead by example. So many people make this mistake. I'm going to hire people and they're going to do it for me. Right? That's the worst thing you can do. You've still got to keep doing it. You've still got to show them that you can pick up the phone, that you can close the deals. Particularly in an early stage company, do not make the mistake of thinking I can just hire them, train them, and they'll do it for me. You've got to lead by example.
Leads us to a good point. So I completely agree with everything you've just said there. And like I said, I've just become a director and co-founder in our company, Web Choice, and I wouldn't do it unless I was passionate about it. I literally love digital marketing. I love sales, and I love helping businesses grow. So I couldn't imagine being involved in a business, let alone become a director of something I wasn't passionate about. And I'm sure, just like you, I wouldn't put in all the hours that I did if I wasn't crazy about it and enjoyed doing it. Just doesn't make sense, really, does it? To waste so much of your time, much of your life. Which leads us on to our next point. I understand that you've started, you've got yourself in the trenches, right, Alex? You're doing a bit of sales yourself, right?
Yeah. Again, I think I've always said to people is, if you don't know how to do it yourself, don't try and tell people how to do it. It goes back to my point before, you got to lead by example. These are really weird times for everyone, right? Unless you work for Zoom, then these even Zoom, these are strange times, right? I was having a meeting last week with our BDR team, and they were coming to me for guidance as to what they should really be doing, because what often a lot of businesses do is they have a tool that allows you to sequence contacts, and they can go outbound, and it's all like structured for you, and that didn't seem to be working as well as before, right? And I didn't know the answers. So I said, the only thing that I can really do is actually get in the trenches with you. I'll start picking up the phone. I'll do those video messages through LinkedIn that will help break through the noise. I'll learn the way that you guys are, so that I can actually, hopefully, point you in the right direction. And it's day 3 for me right now, but I booked my first meeting yesterday, so I'm pretty happy about that. I used a totally different strategy than I would have done this time last year. But yeah, I like to put myself in the shoes of others, so that I can help them push forward. I think that also, hopefully makes my team know that I really feel the pain that they're going through. It helps them it helps build trust, I think, but it also means that I know what's going on in my business. I know how to solve it. And I can get in there and give them the advice they need from having done it myself.
Yeah, I love that. And I bet your team are going to have a heck of a lot of more respect for you as well. Now you're kind of experiencing their job and experiencing what they're going through. And at the same time, you can share advice with each other and kind of talk about what's working, what's not. So that's awesome, man. Okay. And Alex, are there any habits that you follow, any daily habits that you like to stick to, or any habits that you think people should stick to in order to be successful in business?
I mean, in terms of being successful in business, there are tons of things you can do. My habit is actually is the opposite. It's like making a habit of being honest with yourself about what you shouldn't be doing. I think the guys who are really successful know when to say no, and every day I have it 3 times a day: in the morning, lunchtime, and the evening. I have an alert that basically says to me, what should you not be doing right now? What are the things that are not creating value for the company and your employees? So my habit is actually around trying to make myself realize what I shouldn't be doing. I do the standard things that I go running every day. I do 10 minutes of headspace to help me reset and meditate. I spend a certain amount of time with my wife and my son. But my biggest habit is actually around reminding myself what I shouldn't be doing.
That's good. I need that for when I'm scrolling on LinkedIn for about an hour every time I
Too
procrastinate.
tempting. It's too tempting. I sometimes forget. I forget that LinkedIn is a hugely valuable asset where you can start engaging with people proactively. And
Yeah.
I might have a prospect right now that I did this yesterday. I had a prospect that I wanted to sort of send a message via LinkedIn. Next thing you know, I'm just trawling through all the things that people are saying on LinkedIn, and I've totally forgotten why I'm doing that. So maybe I should make it a habit to be laser focused and not comment or anything like that, and just go after what I need to.
No, same here, man. Okay, well, everyone, you've been tuning into Sam's Business Growth Show, where we sit down with business leaders, experts, and entrepreneurs from around the globe. We find out their story, how digital marketing has helped along the way, and exclusive tips and insights to help you skyrocket your business. Alex, if you could thank just one person, either dead or alive, for having a positive influence on yourself, your career, who would that be and why?
Jimi Hendrix, because his music keeps me going.
Love that. Simple as. Awesome. Well, the show is sponsored by webchoiceuk.com, helping businesses skyrocket their leads, sales, and brand positioning via results-driven SEO, digital marketing, conversion-focused websites, and mobile apps. That's webchoiceuk.com. Just before we finish, Alex, what's the best way for people to get in touch with yourself? Tell us a quick snapshot of your company and how people can reach out.
2 ways to get in touch with me. One, send me a note in the post. The other way, get me on LinkedIn. But I think those are the 2 ways. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Make sure you send me a message while you're getting in touch, because I get a ton of them. But yeah, in terms of like a snapshot of the business, like we're really simple, right? We help you break through the noise right now using physical direct mail and gifting.
Awesome, man. It's been a pleasure. Cheers, Alex.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me, mate.
Are you tired of constantly hunting for new customers? You could be missing out on regular inbound opportunities, all because your website isn't on the first page of Google. Perhaps you're already spending lots of money on advertising, but your website is failing to convert all of your hard-earned visitors into a consistent flow of new customers. If you'd like to learn more about our unusual approach that brings ideal clients straight to you, connect with Sam Dunning on LinkedIn or book a free 20-minute consultation via webchoiceuk.com. That's webchoiceuk.com. Subscribe today for more digital marketing, sales, and business growth tips from the experts.